Hello and welcome or welcome back to Unbound Soul Tarot. I'm so happy that you have somehow found your way to me, or that you have chosen to come back and tune into another one of my readings. I am so grateful that you are here, and I'm really excited to do this reading for you today because we are going to get a closer look at how you are changing. We are going to take a look at 5 distinct aspects of you and seeing how those are adapting, how those are evolving, how you are growing and changing right now. And just to name a few of those aspects that we are going to be looking at, we are going to take a look at your worldview or your perspective. We are also going to take a look at your behavior and how that may be changing, or also some of your motivations that may be changing at this time. So there is quite a lot for us to get into, and I hope that it's going to be a really sort of reassuring and illuminating or enlightening reading, so that you could get some clarity about the processes that are happening within you that you may already be feeling and sensing, but that you maybe haven't completely unpacked yet, or that you maybe haven't defined as such. So yeah, lots to get into. So without further ado, let's take a look at the piles that you get to choose from today. Pile number 1 is represented by this card and the Teddy Tarot. Pile number 2 is represented by this card and the Tarot de Luz. Pile number 3 is represented by this card, as well as the Unfolding Path Tarot. So now that we have gone over all of the options for each pile, if you already know which one you feel called to watch, then you can go straight down to the description box and click on the timestamp that you need. Jump straight to your messages and just get into it. But if you need some recommendations or some suggestions on how you should go about choosing the right pile for you, then what I would recommend first and foremost is making sure that you are not too distracted by any loud noises, commotion, disturbances, anything like that, so that you could really tap into your inner voice, so that you could connect with your physical body and feel the sensations that are coming up for you. And in order to do that, you may want to close your eyes and take some deep breaths to get you really present and mindful of this moment. And as you have calmed yourself down, as you have sort of gotten into your body more, take a look at the piles again. See what your eye is drawn to. See what you may be sort of feeling a pull toward, or maybe there is specific sort of sensations in your body that are alerting you to which pile is sort of drawing you in. Maybe there is a specific color, or maybe even a word that has some form of resonance for you at this time. Trust your inner voice in whichever way it speaks to you. But as I also always say, please don't forget to use your discernment as you are listening to these general messages. And without further ado, let's jump into it. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 1. I'm so glad that you are here. So thank you so very much for choosing to tune in and share your beautiful energy with me. Now, I also want to say a massive thank you for all of the support and beautiful words of encouragement, all of the likes, all of the new subscribes that arrived after my last reading. So if you were one of those people, I just want to say that I'm hugely grateful and I really appreciate it. But if you are not one of those people and you are just sort of tuning in for the first time, then first off, hi, I'm so glad that you are here. And also, I do hope that you decide to stick around. And if at any point during today's reading, you find yourself enjoying the messages that are coming through, or you like the way that I read cards, you like my energy, you want to come out and hang with me in the future too, then definitely don't forget to leave a little thumbs up or subscribe to the channel, and also leaving a comment in the comment section, just letting me know that you watched this reading and it spoke to you in some way. It always means so much to me, and it's the easiest way to support my channel, help it to grow, and help me to keep making these readings. But pile number one is always so uncomfortable for me to do the self-promotion, so I'm just gonna sort of get it out of the way as quickly as I can. But yeah, let's get to the actual messages, shall we? So you chose the very sweet, very adorable Teddy Tarot, and also the Benefactor card. We do have some pre-prepared oracle cards, which we are going to take a look at in just a bit. But first, I am going to feel my way through this card intuitively, see what is coming up from the energies of this card. And based on that, you should already get some keywords regarding, you know, your pile, whether this is your pile, so you should recognize something, but don't worry if you don't, because that's what these cards are for. We're going to get more details in just a bit. But pile number one, the Benefactor card, which says grace and generosity on it, and it is depicting these two very sweet looking, very happy looking mice. And I do have this sense that at this time you seem to be the one who is supporting or sharing something with someone. You seem to be aiding in the process of the growth of something, wanting to make something or someone more prosperous, more successful, basically helping either something or someone out with whatever is at your disposal. In the most basic sense, it can very much mean that you are supporting someone financially, you are helping someone out with money matters, or just maybe, you know, buying stuff for them, buying groceries for them, helping them to take care of their utility bills or whatever. I'm just giving you random examples here. So it can be very literal like that, but it can also talk about helping someone out with your skills, helping someone out with your knowledge, your experience, maybe being a mentor or a teacher to someone, maybe simply being there emotionally speaking. Maybe you are offering your shoulder to cry on to someone that you love, someone that is very close and dear to you and who is maybe going through a tough time. Maybe you are simply sharing your time with other people more generously than you have before. Maybe you have decided to put some of your own projects, some of your own ambitions on hold for the time being, so that you could give more of your time and more of your simple presence to the people that are most important in your life, or that you need to sort of be there for at this time. I'm getting my tongue tied. So yeah, anyway, that could be all of these different ways in which you are sort of supporting someone right now. And of course, the roles can be reversed. This is a general reading. So, you know, if you are the one who is being supported at this time by someone else, then, you know, take that message as such. But I do feel more strongly for some reason that right now you seem to be the one who is like wearing the crown, so to say. That you are the one, that the mouse on this card who is wearing the crown, who is sharing what it is that you have, who is feeling more generous, who is feeling more able to assist someone, or to just, again, invest in the growth of something or the development of something. So this can even be like a project or a DIY sort of endeavor that someone is doing. This can even be, you know, helping someone's business to take off, or helping to arrange or organize some systems that need to be put in place for something to be like more practical, or to be more doable. But yeah, that is mainly the energy that is coming through at this time. Pile number one, that is what I'm feeling intuitively off of this card. But as I said, if that part is still somewhat iffy to you, if you're not quite sure whether this is talking about you or not, then stay tuned for these oracle card messages. We have these pre-prepared oracle cards which are going to describe what sort of recent events have you experienced that have taken you to this point in time right now. So you should be able to recognize yourself much more easily from these messages and hence decide whether this is your pile or not. Okay, we have Soul on Fire. We also have Accomplishment. Oh, we have another card that mentions the word soul. So we have the soul. We have Gifts, I'll say. And we have You Are Living Poetry. Okay. So pile number one, yet again, we have quite a few cards that are strong confirmations of the energy that was coming through from the initial part of this reading, the intuitive part. So yeah, I'm just gonna jump straight into it. So we have this Soul on Fire card, which is the first card out, and I'm gonna kind of jump around here and jump to the other card, which also says the Soul, because my eye was drawn to the bottom of the card here. And I know it's not actually fire that is depicted here, but doesn't it look like the flames to you? Like the flames of fire that is depicted at the bottom here. So I don't know, to me it's just an interesting sort of coincidence that is happening here. But yeah, with the Soul on Fire and the soul, I do sense that it's talking about you having recently come into some form of alignment or feeling a deeper sort of resonance, a deeper connection to what sort of lights you up, what brings you a sense of fulfillment, what speaks to you in a very personal and profound sort of way. I feel like there is something that has ignited something in you. Now, again, it can be another person, it can be what some other person is doing or what they are trying to create, what they are trying to bring about. So you could be inspired by that and hence wanting to help out in that process, wanting to be a part of that process. Or it can simply be that you yourself have attained some level of security, or you have attained some form of success, and now you are wanting to share that in some way. And that seems to be something that is truly allowing your soul to speak through you. I feel like you are acting in a way that is allowing your soul to speak. And I'm again jumping around over here, and I'm jumping to the last card, which says You Are Living Poetry. This is talking about you acting in a way where you are truly embodying something sort of more deep and coming from the soul. You seem to be truly attuned to what your inner voice is urging you to pursue, or what it's directing you towards. And I feel like as a result, you have kind of become a role model of sorts, because you are a living, like, how should I say? You are a living example, or like you are, what's the expression? It's escaping me right now, and it's so frustrating. I want to say a very specific phrase. I'm sure that a lot of you right now looking at this are yelling at the expression, or yelling out the expression at the screen. And I'm sure that as soon as I start editing this reading, it's also going to come to me momentarily, and I'm just going to be, I'm just going to be so like mad that it's not coming through. But anyway, because you are this role model, or this example to people through living in your authenticity, I feel like it's acting as a form of inspiration for other people too. So it's almost like something has inspired you, and as a result, you seem to be inspiring others. So it's this beautiful loop. And I'm kind of jumping ahead to this gift card here, because I do feel that as you are clearly gifting something to someone, you are also receiving gifts in return, even if they are not necessarily material. I feel like there is a form of fulfillment that you are experiencing as well through participating in this process, through helping someone out, through being the person who is supporting or investing in this thing or in this person. And like their success or their happiness or their fulfillment is what is filling up you as well. Or again, if it's not a person, if it's a project or something intangible that way, it can be that the success or the growth or the potential of this thing, the promising progress of this thing is what is almost like a reward to you as well. So it definitely seems to hint at reciprocity being present. But I also feel we have this accomplishment card here too, right? And actually both of these cards are just further confirmation that with this accomplishment, it's very, very clearly telling me that you have arrived someplace where you have been able to manifest something, where you have been able to create success, where you have been able to attain some level again, right? So you have accomplished something, which in turn has provided you with the ability to share what it is that you now have. And I feel like it's this beautiful energy of, you know, you having experienced success and you wanting other people to experience success as well. Because again, I feel like, you know, if the people around you are prosperous and happy and fulfilled, that furthermore enriches your life as well. So it's like this, it's this energy that compounds, right? Abundance and wealth births more abundance and wealth. And so it's sort of that kind of mindset, that sort of energy that seems to be coming through here. And again, I do want to emphasize that it doesn't have to be talking about material or financial wealth or abundance or anything sort of physical like that. It can be very abstract in nature, right? So I just wanted to emphasize that aspect. But pile number one, that is what is coming through from these cards. That's what seems to be the sort of the past experiences, what you have come to realize, what sort of energy you have aligned with, what sort of mentality you have arrived at. And yeah, it's what has led you here. But if you could resonate with this part, if this whole thing made sense to you, then definitely stay tuned, because now we are going to get to the actual core, the gist of today's reading, which is all about the you 2.0, right? How it is that you are changing. And as I said, we have very distinct aspects or questions that we're going to be taking a look at. And I'm going to lay all of them out, and then we're going to start answering them with tarot cards one by one. So we have the aspect of your worldview, the aspect of your behavior, the aspect of how you deal with challenges, the aspect of your deeper motivations, and the aspect of your relationships. So yeah, those are the areas that we are going to be taking a look at. Sorry, I'm going to try and move those a bit so that you could actually see what is coming out. As I said, we're going to go through these prompts and through these questions one by one. So we're going to start off with worldview. And the first question that we are going to be answering, how is your perception changing? How is your worldview changing right now? Wow. Okay. So we have the Ten of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Four of Pentacles is the underlying energy. Okay, so pile number one, I'm gonna move the cards around a bit so that we would have a bit more space. But yeah, we have the Ten of Swords and the King of Wands coming through as how your worldview is changing. And I do have to say that I feel a lot of sort of courage and self-belief, self-trust emanating from these cards. Now, the Ten of Swords is very clearly talking about difficult endings, and it's talking about change, where something abruptly alters in some way, where an old paradigm, so to say, is coming to an end, and there is this need to adapt, there is this need to change. And with the King of Wands, it seems like the way that your perception around certain endings or certain changes that life throws your way, sorry, I forgot the beginning of that sentence, that happens sometimes, but with the King of Wands being here, it seems like you are starting to embrace those a lot more as kind of like an inevitable part of life, that there are going to be changes, there are going to be certain painful realizations or uncomfortable realizations at the very least that need to take place. But I feel like you kind of, it's not that you are starting to welcome them necessarily, but it's just that you feel much more prepared to handle those. You seem to be feeling this level of confidence within yourself and within your own skill set that you are able to handle and deal with whatever sort of curveballs life throws your way. You are able to bounce back. You are able to land on your feet, right? Like a cat. You are able to land on your feet and rise up and sort of move on, right? Whereas before, I feel like this Four of Pentacles may be hinting at a more rigid sort of mindset. Maybe before it was a lot more difficult for you to come to terms with things that were changing and things that required you to adapt and sort of grow along with them. Because the Four of Pentacles is very clearly the energy of holding on, wanting to grasp onto the semblance of security that you have created for yourself. Even if everything else is falling apart around you, there is this desire to hold on to what you know, to what feels safe and what feels secure. But I do sense that that's the thing that is changing. You seem to be releasing your grasp on things. You seem to be releasing your hold on wanting to control things and wanting to make them go a certain way. Because again, it seems like that level of security or that level of feeling okay, feeling stable and steady is not necessarily now coming from events that you are experiencing outside of you, but it's coming from this inner feeling that you have. It's coming from this core within you. And I also feel that it's this King of Wands energy, I'm really loving it in this instance. And I feel like it's talking about some form of like maturation that has occurred in you as well. That is, yeah, I feel like it has already occurred. For some reason that feels like it's something sort of that you are now embodying, where you are realizing your own power. Because the Four of Pentacles is also, it's also talking about this level of control and holding on to something, right? And I feel like one aspect of your worldview that is changing could also be tied to you holding on to your level of self-worth, clinging on to what you know to be true about you, what you know to be true about your capabilities, about who you are as a person, again, about your skill set, about what you have experienced in the past and what it has taught you. So there's this beautiful level of, again, self-assurance that I feel is massively changing your worldview, in the sense that it feels like you are now much more in the driver's seat. You are now much more aware of the aspects that you can control versus the aspects that are outside of your control. And also choosing to make peace with the things that either do like leave your life, or that the things or the circumstances that do end, making peace with it, and maybe even embracing how that may be a necessary part of the journey, maybe even embracing or realizing how that may be beneficial to you or to your future some way, even if you cannot always see it at the time. And also taking back your personal power, in the sense of like embracing accountability, embracing that mentality of, I can choose how I react to something. I can choose how I respond to something, and what I let affect me, what I let get to me. So yeah, coming to a much more empowered sort of mindset, which yeah, is just, I love it. But let's also take a look at the next prompt. So we have behavior here. And the question that we're going to be answering more specifically is, how is your behavior or your self-expression changing? Okay, wow. So we have the Fool. Almost wanted to come out in reverse, but then in the end it didn't. So we're getting two major arcana cards. We have the Sun and we have the Fool, with the underlying energy being the Four of Cups. Okay, so I feel inclined to say, pile number one, that I feel like in this pile I am dealing with some truly evolved people. And what I mean by that is that I feel like in this group, if you are resonating with this whole spread, you have most likely done so much work on yourself. You have spent a lot of time on understanding yourself more, understanding your shadow aspects more, coming to terms with those, working with your mindset, working with your perspective, working with your emotional triggers and wounds and all of those things. And I feel like you have arrived at a place where you are truly elevated now, it just feels like you have done the work. And it's just so beautiful to see. Now, obviously, we can never be fully healed. We can never be fully grown or developed or become these completely illuminated and elevated beings. There is always more for us to learn. But yeah, it seems like you have done such a huge amount of work already. And so I really, really commend you on that. But yeah, the Sun and the Fool, getting two major arcana cards like this is also testament to the fact that you have clearly made major strides in your personal development. Because when it comes to how your behavior or how your self-expression is changing, we are dealing with two very, very positive and optimistic cards. The Sun is ruled by the Sun, and the Fool is ruled by Uranus, but it's full of optimism and it's full of daring and courageous energy. And so it seems like you are starting to operate more and more from a place of focusing on optimism, focusing on joy, focusing on things that bring you fulfillment, that bring you happiness, that bring you ease and a sense of true well-being. Because the more you are operating from that space where you are, keeping your spirits up, where you are focusing on the good things, where you are focusing on gratitude, where you are focusing on just enjoying life. And also, because we are dealing with the Sun and the Fool, this is embracing that humorous side as well, where you are able to laugh at life, where you are able to laugh at the absurdities that life sometimes throws at you, or even the hardships, the difficulties, the challenges, right? If you are able to see those things through a lens of humor, where you're able to sort of separate yourself from the things that we are challenged by, then you have kind of cracked the game of life. You have kind of cracked the code, right? Because nothing can get to you then. Nothing can truly have power over you. And I feel like this high vibrational energy that you seem to be operating from now, more and more and more, and seeking out the energies that are also focused on, again, gratitude, willpower, empowered sort of self-assurance in general, feeling like life is full of opportunities rather than constant challenges or lack, right? And I mean, all of those things are also being hinted at in this Four of Cups energy, which is the underlying energy. It's talking about this difference in approach. You can go through life viewing things as constantly being a disappointment, as constantly falling short of your expectations, and just being in this state that life is not good enough and life is a huge letdown most of the time. Or you can focus on the cup that is actually being offered to you, even if you can't see it. The Four of Cups is talking about opportunities being around us all of the time, even if we are not aware of them, even if we are not able to pick them out and pay attention to them. They are always there. And so again, you can go through life as that first version, or you can go through life realizing that life is always going to be what you see it as, right? And if you see it as full of opportunities, as a journey where even in difficult and challenging and stuck times, there is most likely always a way, right? There is always a way. And again, if you were able to go through life operating from that second perspective, your life is going to be so much more fulfilling and so much more rewarding. And you're going to attract even more of those types of opportunities and people and circumstances and rewards to you. So yeah, I really love it. And I also want to emphasize the Fool's curiosity as well, because I feel like there is this growing sense of wanting to know more, wanting to find out more, wanting to explore more, wanting to kind of live life to the fullest, right? So yeah, again, I don't know who is in this pile number 1, but I'm so loving your energy. I'm so vibing with your energy. I'm just really privileged right now that I am able to read these cards for you. But let's keep going. So let's take a look at the third prompt, which is all about the challenging aspects of life, right? So let's see what is changing about how you deal with challenges in life. Although I feel like we have already kind of gotten a glimpse of that somewhat, let's see if we can get more details. These cards flew out really quickly. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're actually getting a matching pair now. We had the King of Wands coming out first in the worldview aspect, and for the challenge aspect, we have the Queen of Wands now. We also have the Five of Swords that came out first, and the underlying energy is the World. So pile number 1, I'm gonna start off with the underlying energy. I really want to start off with the World, because this is talking about a level of wholeness, a level of completeness even, where I feel like you are becoming someone who is so kind of well-rounded and so steady that you are able to see challenges as lessons, as these portals of growth where you can go through them and come out the other side even more elevated, even more capable, even more wise, and even more experienced. And so it's like you are not seeing challenges as a form of punishment anymore. You are seeing them, again, as stepping stones, as places of growth. And I love that we are getting the Queen of Wands, because I feel like it's talking to this mentality of maintaining composure, maintaining your dignity, always staying in control of yourself, even when you are dealing with like provoking energies or really low vibrational energies, or you know, people who are in love with drama and creating intrigue and all of that. Because inevitably, you know, we are always going to come into contact with all types of people. And sometimes those people, even if they are so very different from us, they are put on a path intentionally so that we could, again, grow, so that we could develop and be illuminated to some sort of uncomfortable aspects within ourselves. Maybe, you know, places where we are still somewhat vulnerable, or where we can still get easily triggered, right? Because, you know, as I said, we can never fully be healed. And so there is always something that we can kind of learn more about within ourselves. And so the Five of Swords is basically just saying that, you know, there are inevitably going to be conflicts. There are inevitably going to be people who rub you the wrong way, who ruffle your feathers. But again, it's like, I feel like your view of challenges and your view of challenging situations is changing. And I feel like you are not allowing those to defeat you. I feel like it's almost like you are not getting sucked into those where someone would have power over you by like taunting you or dragging you into, again, some low vibrational stuff. Because the Queen of Wands, as I said, she is regal, she is composed, she knows her worth, she knows who she is, and she is determined to fiercely protect her position, her point of view, and her peace of mind. And yeah, I feel like you are not going to be dragged into things as easily anymore. And I also feel that if you come across people who are clearly acting out of hurt themselves, instead of, again, getting sucked into that sort of energy and lashing out, you seem to be looking at them through some level of like compassion or warmth or understanding or something like that. Because there is this gentleness, this gentle feminine energy coming through from the Queen aspect, right? The King was much more assertive and much more sort of masculine and sure of himself. But the Queen is much more understanding and able to sort of see more deeply into the background of what is causing that person to act in that way, or what is causing that event to play out the way that it is. So yeah, I feel like your approach to dealing with challenges is going to soften in a way, but not in a bad way. And I hope you kind of get what I'm trying to say. I hope that it all makes sense. Let's keep going. Pile number 1. This is turning into one of those long ass readings again, which is not surprising if you have at all spent time on my channel before. But yeah, let's keep going. So next up, we're going to take a look at motivation. So what are some new core motivations for you now? What is the thing that is lighting you up? Woo. Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna keep the other card that flew out as the underlying energy, because yeah, there were quite a lot of cards that wanted to come out. So we have the Six of Swords that flew out first. We also have the Two of Wands that came out in reverse. And then we have the Page of Wands as the underlying energy. It's kind of crazy, pile number 1, how much fire energy is coming through from these cards. It's insane, but it also kind of makes sense, right? Because I mean, the first card out was Soul on Fire, so clearly the fire element as such is a very prominent one that we are dealing with here. But I feel like this portion is actually going to be quite a quick one. When we're talking about what is a core sort of motivating force for you, it's interesting that the aspect of curiosity was coming through before from the Fool, because the Page of Wands, which is the underlying energy, is essentially talking about that, just that, curiosity. And so I feel like the motivation for you is to see what else is out there, to get a glimpse into what have you yet to discover. What sort of exciting and invigorating sort of experiences are out there? You know, what sort of possibilities are still, you know, undiscovered by you? Because the Six of Swords and the Two of Wands in reverse are essentially talking about progress, especially the Six of Swords here. It's talking about moving on. It's talking about progressing to somewhere that is more peaceful, somewhere that is more in alignment with your wishes, somewhere that is more conducive to progress and growth. And the Two of Wands in reverse is basically talking about energy that is either stuck or that lacks prospects, that is maybe even like kind of been there, done that. For some reason, I'm also feeling that sort of energy. But the Two of Wands in reverse can simply, again, talk about being stuck, feeling like you would like to go somewhere, but you don't quite know where that somewhere is. Or maybe there is a trepidation of sorts of coming out of your comfort zone. But the Six of Swords is clearly indicating that your motivation is to is to grow, is to move, is to learn and expand and grow out of your comfort zone so that you wouldn't get stuck in some sort of comfortable rut that isn't in essence going to lead you anywhere, right? Where there isn't any potential growth for the future. So it seems like you are all about expansion. You are all about building upon what you already have and kind of cultivating more excitement and all of these things, all of that fiery energy that makes life exciting, that makes life worth living, right? So spicing up your life in essence is kind of the main motivation, and constantly keeping yourself moving and growing and progressing. But we have, as I said, this was quite a quick part because it was so very like straightforward, I feel. But we have arrived at the last prompt, which is all about relationships. And more specifically, we are looking at what is changing about how you show up in your relationships or how you relate to other people. So let's see. Okay, I feel like that card really wanted to come out. Okay, interesting. We have the Moon, the Page of Cups, and the Justice card is coming out in reverse. Okay, so again, I feel inclined to start off with the underlying energy, which is the Justice card coming out in reverse. And in essence, I feel that it's talking about starting to see relationships as much more nuanced. When the Justice card comes out in reverse, it's this energy of things not being so black and white, right? It's not as easy as one thing being right and the other thing being wrong, or one thing being good and the other thing being bad. It's much more complex, it's much more layered, it's much more nuanced, and you seem to be starting to see relationships and other people as such more and more as well. And so we have the Moon and we have the Page of Cups, both very watery energies. And I'm actually loving that we're getting the Page of Cups here again, because I feel like, first off, it's talking about how you are starting to approach relationships with a lot more vulnerability and a lot more honesty as well, especially with the Moon, you know, indicating certain confusing instances or certain hazy aspects of relationships, which, I mean, again, bound to occur, right? Because we are all different. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different programming. And yeah, we're just wired differently, right? Based on our own personal experiences and our own personal genetic makeup and all of that, right? It all plays into how we express ourselves and who we are. And so clearly there are going to be misunderstandings. There are going to be sort of clashes or conflicts and just, you know, instances where people don't make sense to us and we don't always make sense to other people. But even if there are certain fears, even if there are certain anxieties about what may be going on in the relationship or what may be going on with someone else, even if there are just anxieties or worries about whatever else is going on in our lives, right? The Page of Cups is indicating that you are much more freely able to talk about those things now. You're much more able to vocalize or express your fears or express your concerns when things are not making sense or when you are not sure about something. There is this level of honesty and transparency with the Page of Cups. Again, this innocence of just wanting to talk things through sincerely and kind of lay cards out on the table and really talk about what is actually going on and solve whatever is going on, right? There is this curiosity to dig deeper, to look beyond what is apparent, because with the Moon, there is always this energy of something else being hidden beneath the surface. You just have to be willing to take the time and take the energy to look and to dig deeper. And that's what you seem to be embracing here. Instead of deciding that something like isn't worth your time or that someone isn't the right person for you, or like making very quick and concrete decisions like that, you seem to be giving people the benefit of the doubt. You seem to be, again, operating from a much more like compassionate and understanding sort of space where you are able to hear people out and where you yourself are able to express yourself with a lot more vulnerability and honesty too. But again, I feel like it all ties back in with the King of Wands energy and the Queen of Wands energy, where you yourself have a much more solid core foundation within yourself now. And so that's why it's easier to also, you know, be your authentic, vulnerable self. So yeah, pile number one, I could keep going on and keep going around in circles about this beautiful energy, honestly, that is coming through from these cards. But yeah, I feel like this reading is long enough, so let's just leave these cards as they are, and let's close the reading out with some last oracle card messages. These are going to be encouragement or support from spirit regarding this whole reading. So let's see what sort of last wrap-up messages we can get for you, something that you can take away from this reading. Okay, we have this card coming out. Ooh, okay. Sorry. I got so like torn between these two cards, but we're going to start off with the underlying energy, which says love, to show tenderness and devotion, to care, to connect, to take something as part of yourself, to be one with all. Oh my goodness. Talk about being the benefactor, right? Like that sort of energy is very, very strongly coming through here. And I feel like Spirit is clearly emphasizing how being in that space of love, of compassion, of seeing other people and seeing your life through the eyes of love, as cheesy as it may sound, but I feel like it's really apt here. And you seem to be moving more and more in that space, which again is further confirmation, to me at least, that you know, you are definitely becoming more and more elevated as a person. But yeah, the card that you got is integrate, to combine, to make whole, to dissolve the tension, to include. Yeah, see, I do feel that you, it's talking about, as I said, with the world card, right? It's becoming so well-rounded, and it's all due to being able to integrate the lessons of the past, the experiences of the past. Again, these shadow aspects or these wounds that you maybe didn't, at one point, maybe you didn't realize that they were playing a part or that they were having control over you. But now it seems like you really see that, or you have been able to notice those and work with those energies. I don't know why this card isn't wanting to focus. Okay, but it says integrate. You can at least see that, so I'm gonna stop trying. But yeah, that is the key message here, to keep integrating, to keep building yourself up and laying that foundation stone by stone, creating an even more solid base of yourself. And yeah, I don't know, pile number one, this was such an amazing reading. I love when those sorts of energies come through. They don't come through like that often, but every now and then I feel like I am lucky enough to connect with this sort of energy, and it's really, really beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I was able to share these messages with you. And if you have made it all the way to this point, then, well, okay, obviously, leave me a fire emoji down in the comment section so that I would know that this whole thing spoke to you, that you recognized yourself in this reading, that it gave you something useful, something meaningful, or at the very least that it was entertaining for you to watch and that you enjoyed your time. I would really love to connect with you in the comment section. And as always, I would love to see you back on this channel next Friday for some more messages, insight, and fun. But in the meantime, please take good care of yourselves, and I will see you hopefully very, very soon. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 2. My name is Helen, and I am so glad that you are here watching this reading. So thank you so much for being here and for your beautiful presence. And also thank you if you have come back to my channel, if you have joined my channel recently or not so recently, if you have given my readings a thumbs up, or just if you have left me comments and connecting with me in the comment section, I really, really appreciate it. It honestly means so much to me, and it encourages me immensely to keep going, to make these readings in the future as well. And so if you haven't done any of those things yet, all of those things are the easiest ways to support my channel and keep these readings coming. But yeah. Now that that is out of the way, let's get to the actual messages. So you chose the Stars in the Sky card and also the Tarot de Luz, which we are going to get into in just a bit. Because first, we are going to look at this card that you chose. I'm going to feel my way through it intuitively, see what is coming up, and I'm going to give some initial messages that should already talk to you in some regard. But don't worry if it is not like fully making sense to you just yet, because that's what these pre-prepared oracle cards are for, and these ones are going to give us a bit more details. So yeah, Stars in the Sky, limitless possibility. Part number 2, I am getting the sense that right now you are in this period of learning and growing. I feel like you are pouring a lot of energy and focus into your skills, your knowledge, your personality maybe even, or like how you are showing up in the world. It seems like you are wanting to better yourself, wanting to create more possibilities for yourself, wanting to open yourself up to new lands, new opportunities, new experiences. Like there is all of this newness that seems to be calling out to you. I'm so drawn to the bridge, even though the majority of this card is obviously focused on the sky and the stars and all of that. But for some reason, my eye is drawn to this bridge. And so it seems like you are, it's like you are on this course of progressing or stepping onto a new land of sorts, like metaphorically speaking. I don't know, maybe some of you, if this is a more of a specific message, maybe some of you are actually stepping onto foreign land as well, meaning that maybe you are moving, maybe you are traveling overseas, or just relocating, or going on like a bigger trip of some kind. Maybe that's the case for some of you too, but mostly I feel that there is this overarching theme of finding ways to create more opportunities for yourself, to open more doors, open more windows, find avenues that you haven't explored yet, that you haven't gone down yet. And I feel like there is something about you realizing that you have to invest in yourself and in bettering yourself, becoming the best version of yourself, tapping into this unrealized potential that exists in you. Because I'm looking at like how obviously there is this this solitary figure on the card, and it seems like they are getting in touch with some like divine forces, or connecting with spirit or God, or again, whoever, insert the name of whatever divinity you resonate with. But yeah, it's like it's such a personal process that they seem to be going through. And so I just feel inclined to say that it all starts with the self. That's what your like stance seems to be like as well at this time, where it's like you are realizing, or you have realized, that it all starts with the self. And so yeah, I see you wanting to create better opportunities for yourself, wanting to expand your life, and again create more options for the future. But as I said, this is just the intuitive part, right? That's just the initial messages coming through. So don't you worry if you are not 100% sold on this reading being yours, because we are going to take a look at these oracle cards, and these are going to tell us what sort of recent events or energies have you experienced that have led you to this point right now as you are watching this reading. So let's see. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is so crazy right now. This is such a deep confirmation as well as a really cool synchronicity. We have fall in love with your own story. Love it. We have memory. We also have boar. Potential. Okay, that's crazy. And we have your soul shines. Oh my goodness. Okay. So pile number 2, lots of confirmation coming through from these cards. So again, I feel that I have to say, if you did not resonate with the initial message at all, then you may want to check some other pile. But if you did recognize that part, or it made sense to you already, then yeah, definitely, I feel like these cards are going to further enforce that. So we have this, I'm just going to start off with the first card, fall in love with your own story, right? And I feel like that's because we're talking about past events, recent events that have already happened, that have taken you to where you are. It seems like there has been this shift where you have started to see yourself and see your journey, everything that you have experienced up to this point, and maybe even some, like more specifically, some difficult parts of that journey that maybe were very hard for you to come to terms with in the past. You seem to be viewing them through a more detached lens now. And I feel like because of it, because there has been some sort of shift in your view of your journey, or at the very least, I feel like there isn't as much emotion attached to those things anymore. You are able to see the hidden value in even the difficult things, the harsh lessons, the painful disappointments, because you are here, right? You have made it through all of those things, and you are still here, and you are still hopeful, you are still wanting to make something better of your future than what it was in the past. And so I feel like with the memory card especially, this one is a big one that is hinting at the past having played a significant role in how you used to view yourself and how you used to view your life and your potential for the future. But I feel like there is something about not wanting to live in that memory sphere anymore, not wanting to live in the past anymore, even though it's clear that some form of shift has taken place where you are maybe able to see things through more peace and more acceptance now. There is also this desire with this boar energy to kind of trample out of it now, to break down those ties and those strings and set yourself free, because the boar is talking about this more aggressive, more wild, more untamed aspect, this masculine energy that is yearning to take action, right? That is urging to be set free. And I feel like that's exactly what you have experienced. And I love that the boar is actually facing the memory card, where there is this directionality of wanting to tear down the ties or the strings of the past that you have felt tethered to, that you have maybe even felt controlled by. Because now, looking at this potential and this Your Soul Shines card, we have this newfound perspective that is full of, again, potential, right? We were even talking about the potential that you have yet to express, right? That there is this hidden potential within you that you seem to recognize now, that you seem to realize exists. And with this Your Soul Shines, again, it's like you see the value in it. And I love that we're actually getting a star symbology here, because it's like you realize that you are part of the stars, you are part of the cosmos, you're part of the universe, you're part of this divinity that exists all around us. And part of that divinity exists within you, right? That's what makes your soul shine. That the beautiful luminosity, and just, again, like realizing your inherent worth, realizing that you are here for a reason, realizing that you have incarnated for a reason, and that there is meaning in your life. that you have still things to do, to experience, to contribute, to create, right? So that is really the energy that you seem to be coming from, or that has led you to this place right now, that has already made you see certain things quite differently. But yeah, pile number 2, if you resonated with this, if this whole thing made sense to you, then definitely stay tuned for the most juicy part of the reading, which is all about how you are changing and the new you that is emerging. We are going to use some specific prompts to take a look at all of these different aspects of you that are changing. And we're going to go through them one by one. I'm laying them out first, and then we're going to use these tarot cards that you chose to answer each of these questions. So that is the structure of today's reading. And of course, we're going to start off with the first one, which is world view. So we are going to take a look at how is your perception changing. Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. So we have the King of Pentacles, the Hierophant, and the Two of Wands as the underlying energy. Okay, so pile number 2. I feel a twofold message here. We have this King of Pentacles and we have the Hierophant, which, by the way, funnily enough, both of these cards are tied to the astrological sign of Taurus. And so the first message regarding how your worldview or how your perception is changing is tied to seeing or realizing your own sense of self-worth. With the King of Pentacles, we're dealing with value, we're dealing with abundance and wealth and things that are worth sharing, right? Like what you bring to the table, and realizing that you have a lot to bring to the table, actually, that there is so much inherent value within you. And with the Hierophant, it's like you have so many things that you can share and teach other people. You have certain wisdom to spread around as well. You have certain, again, value to share with others, because the Hierophant is this teacher figure, right? It's the one that other people turn to for advice, for guidance, for just sharing their sage knowledge. And I feel like there is this, again, this realization that, you know, with the underlying energy, with the underlying energy as the Two of Wands being here, there is an opportunity. There is something else for you to do, that things don't have to go the way that they have always gone, and that things don't have to be the way that they have always been. So it kind of opens you up to some possibility here. But the other message that I feel is tied to traditionalism and tied to, again, like doing things the same way or following certain established norms. So it seems like you are realizing that your worldview doesn't necessarily have to match someone else's worldview. It doesn't necessarily have to match the sort of traditional worldview or the worldview that you have been taught to operate in. That there is a much larger, a much more wide world out there for you to discover. And just because someone has told you that that is the truth of things, or that that's how things should be, and that's who you really are, and all of those things, it's not saying that it's the ultimate be-all end-all truth. So you seem to be breaking out of some more rigid structures, some outdated and stagnant, I want to say, views or perceptions. Because again, the Two of Wands, right? The Two of Wands is saying that there is a possibility for something else. There is a whole wide world to discover. On the traditional Two of Wands card, in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, we see a person who is actually holding the whole of the world in their palm and looking out at sea, looking out toward the horizon. And sort of seeing what else is out there, planning for their next move. And so, yeah, it's like your world is opening, like your perception has grown and expanded beyond what it has always been. You're not boxed in by these limitations anymore. There is this realization that you don't have to repeat the past. You don't have to follow the same footsteps that maybe your ancestors or your other family members went down. You can carve out your own path, empowering and individuating. I don't know whether that's an actual word, but there's a process of individuation that I feel is happening in this world view of yours and how it's shifting. But pile number 2, let's move on to the behavior part or aspect of you. So how is your behavior or your self-expression changing? Oh, wow, those two flew out together. I love when that happens. Okay. We have the 2 of Cups and we have the Star. Oh, I love that we got the Star for you, because obviously there's so much Star energy around. And the underlying energy is the Judgment card. So we're getting some massive major arcana energy. So see, I feel like it's kind of repeating the energy that was already coming through, where I'm going to start off with the underlying energy, the Judgment card. So this Judgment is clearly, again, depicting how you are currently in contact with some more divine or some higher forces. Maybe even simply your higher self, if that's something that you believe in and resonate with. But Judgment talks about an awakening of sorts. It talks about rebirth and elevation as well. So it seems like your behavior is actually coinciding with how your view of the world is shifting and growing as well. So you seem to be starting to operate more and more from this place of possibility. We have the 2 of Cups and the Star. And I love that the Star is here, because again, it's such a healing energy. It's such a soothing presence. And with the 2 of Cups, it's clearly talking about connecting to something that is healing, something that is full of potential, right? Because the Star is the symbol of regaining hope, of having some form of light at the end of the tunnel that is sparking your sense of belief that things can get better, that things can be turned around. And with the 2 of Cups, it just seems like you know that you are coming from a truly authentic place, a truly heart-centered space. And you are wanting to create true and meaningful connections. You are wanting to be vulnerable. You are wanting to open yourself up to the sweetness, the niceness, the comfort of life, the hope, the bliss, all of the beauty that life has to offer. And also realizing, that there are other people out there that you can connect with, that most likely, share your values, that share your interests, that share your beliefs. And I feel like, because again, we're looking at behavior, right? It seems like you are starting to act in a way where you are attracting those sorts of people to you as well. So I love that. Yeah, I don't know how many times I've said that already, but it's really true. This is a really beautiful and healing sort of shift that I feel you are going through, pile number 2. But let's take a look at the challenge aspect. And more specifically, we are going to see what is changing about how you deal with challenges in life. Oh, wow. Again, 2 coming out together. Oh, wow. Okay, we have the 8 of Cups and the Hanged Man in reverse. I'm not sure which one came out first, but anyway, the underlying energy is the Empress. We have the 8 of Cups and the Hanged Man that is coming out in reverse. And with the Hanged Man, I am being reminded of this Stars in the Sky card. There is a there is a connection that I feel here where it's clear that you have come to some sort of realization, right? The Hanged Man is an energy of going through an illumination of sorts, having this enlightenment take place that shifts his whole worldview and kind of turns everything upside down. And so I feel like as a result of that, especially with the Eight of Cups here, you are not going to simply suffer in silence and sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your own happiness, sacrifice your own well-being for the sake of like whatever excuse, right? It seems like the Eight of Cups is hinting at you starting to prioritize certain higher standards, certain needs, certain wishes and desires that I feel that you have like realized as a result of working on yourself and digging deeper into your true motivations and what makes you you. There is this aspect of having done some introspection, having done some soul searching. And I also feel with the Hanged Man that, especially as it's coming out in reverse, you seem to not be sacrificing yourself anymore, or like you're not choosing to be a martyr anymore. And this feels more specific, so it's maybe not going to resonate with a lot of you. But I definitely feel that for someone here, there may have been this pattern of being the martyr, the one who sacrifices his own well-being. And I'm using his as just like an example because it's the Hanged Man, right? I'm not saying that you have to be male specifically. So don't get too sucked into the gender aspect here. You know, the Hanged Man being this martyr sometimes and sacrificing himself because he somehow feels that it's a noble thing to do or that it's expected of him or something. But again, the Eight of Cups is clearly indicating that you are not doing that anymore, that you are leaving behind things that are not fulfilling, that are not giving you anything in return, right? Because I feel that there may be certain instances in the past where you have sacrificed yourself for someone or for something that you thought was the right thing to do. But I feel like you were deeply disillusioned by the lack of gratitude that you received, or the lack of recognition that you received, or maybe how your sacrifice didn't really amount to much. It's almost as if, you know, people took it for granted, that it was normal that you would behave in that way, and it was almost like expected of you. But again, it's like you are choosing not to do that anymore. You're choosing not to suffer in silence anymore, and actually leave behind the situations, the energies, the circumstances, the atmospheres where you feel that you are not accepted, you are not valued, you are not recognized, and that just, you know, feel out of alignment with you, that feel not good for you. Because we also have the Empress as the underlying energy here. Sorry, I need to grab these cards as well, otherwise it's not going to focus. These cards are somewhat smaller. But anyway, as I was saying, we have the Empress here. And the Empress is an energy of like love and nurturing and care and generosity. But all of those things are important to give to yourself as well, right? Not just other people. You have to take care of yourself. You have to nurture yourself. And I feel that the Empress is hinting at the focus that you are going to sort of keep at the forefront of your mind whenever you are dealing with challenging situations is like, what is the most profitable, the most prosperous outcome that I can generate? Like, what is the most benefit that I can create out of this situation? Like focusing on the possibility, focusing on the opportunity for growth, for development, for expansion, rather than getting stuck in the negativity, or again, making yourself small, playing it small, sacrificing yourself. The Empress is talking about a win-win situation where everyone wins, everyone benefits, and that includes you, right? So, yeah, an interesting take on the challenging aspects, but that's really what I feel here, pile number 2. So let's keep going. Let's move on to the motivation. So what are some new core motivations for you, or what is something that is lighting you up now? Whoa. Okay. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. So, sorry, I messed up the cards again. That is something that I somehow always manage to do. But we have the 2 of Wands, the Tower in reverse, and the 3 of Swords as the underlying energy. Pile number 2, I am getting the sense with these cards. I'm actually going to grab the underlying energy as well. I'm getting the sense from these cards that your journey has definitely had a fair share of hurdles and challenges that you have had to overcome. And so I just want to say, before we even get into these cards, that you should be so proud of yourself for still being here, for having come through all of it. And yeah, just again, still finding ways to look towards the future with hope and optimism and belief. So we have the 2 of Wands, the Tower in reverse, and the 3 of Swords. Some new core motivations that you are operating from are coming from a place of wanting to redefine your future and build something that would be much more promising, much more lasting as well than whatever sort of constructs used to exist before. With the Tower in reverse, and especially with the underlying energy of the 3 of Swords, it seems like you have overcome certain breakdown sort of energies where life has tested you and life has brought you some really painful lessons. That's what the 3 of Swords essentially is, right? And the Tower coming out in reverse, it just feels like there is this debris or certain rubble from past upheavals, or where certain stability was taken away from you. I feel like there's some aftermath of that may still be present and that may still be palpable. But again, with the 2 of Wands, it's like you don't want to be defined by those things. You don't want your life and your future to be ruled and defined by those things. So your motivation is to create a better, a more optimistic journey moving forwards. And I feel like there is also an added layer of not wanting to repeat, right? Not wanting to step into that same trap anymore, which is kind of tying back to the initial message of potentially repeating certain patterns, or following the footsteps of your ancestors or something like that was coming through earlier. Again, I'm not saying that message has to resonate for all of you. It might again be more of a specific message maybe. And with the Tower in reverse, I also feel called to add as a last thing that I feel that there may have been certain structures or certain systems in place that weren't the most stable, that weren't the most sustainable. And I feel like you may be wanting to create certain structures or create this level of security that wouldn't be so easy to break down, that wouldn't be built on unsteady ground. So, yeah. Let's also take a look at the last prompt, which is all about relationships. And more specifically, let's see what is changing about how you show up in your relationships or how you relate to other people. Wow, okay. Those were really powerful jumps. Oh, actually, you already got 2, but then, I guess we are taking 3 because I didn't see the other card. So we have the Ace of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, and the Lovers. Oh, wow. The underlying energy is the Four of Swords in reverse. Yeah, so see, I am feeling a very concrete message here yet again. With the Ace of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, and the Lovers, I feel like you are not going to accept scraps anymore. You are definitely not going to be okay with being the only one who pours into the connection, into the relationship. Again, regardless of like whatever kind of relationship we are talking about, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship per se, but it just feels like in your relationship dynamics and just again, how you relate to other people in general, you may have been constantly showing up as the one to pour everything that you have in you into the relationship without necessarily getting too much in return with the Five of Pentacles here, right? Because remember, these two cards came out together. So it's very clearly a sign of like one-sided relationships, or where one partner is contributing more than the other partner, or the participant in the relationship, right? Like again, regardless of whatever dynamic this is, romantic or otherwise. But yeah, this Five of Pentacles is not having your needs met, feeling like you are constantly being depleted, but you're not really getting anything in return. And I also feel inclined to say that I'm feeling a very strong Piscean energy, maybe also because of how this cup is shaped like a fish. That may be a reason. But just because of this, like, again, this self-sacrificial, or this wanting to give it your all, wanting to help someone, or wanting to save someone, wanting to, do your utmost for someone else. Like this all-encompassing feeling of love and devotion that exists, or that you may have for someone. Like that sort of energy is coming through very strongly. But with the Lovers being here as the last card, which I feel now is so perfect that the third card came out, because it makes so much sense. The Lovers here is a clear indication that you are starting to demand reciprocity now. The Lovers is an indication of two parties, right? That there are two sides, and that there is this level of commitment that needs to happen, where both people need to choose the other. Both people need to choose to invest and to show up and to make this thing work. It can't be a one-sided thing. And that's what is ultimately changing about how you show up in relationships and how you relate to other people in general. Because the underlying energy, which is the Four of Swords in reverse, is also talking about coming out of this, okay, don't kill the messenger, right? But I heard comatose state. And it doesn't sound the nicest, but like the point is that there may have been this tendency to be a bit more passive with things that actually weren't okay. Maybe you didn't want to cause a scene, or cause drama, or cause a conflict, or something like that. And so maybe it was just easier to not say anything, and to just deal with whatever sort of scraps you were given, attention-wise, support-wise, loyalty-wise, like you name it, right? But I do feel that this sense of just accepting what is, and just being okay with getting what little you can get. Like that sort of mentality is definitely changing here, pile number two. And I'm so glad for you, because again, it speaks to this inner transformation that has taken place. It speaks to you waking up to your own value. Again, realizing that you have things to bring to the table. And so, you deserve for other people to contribute as well. But yeah, wow, pile number two. This was kind of heavy, but I hope that the underlying positivity and this ray of light for newness was still coming through, because that's definitely present here, and I do want to emphasize that. But let's keep moving so that this wouldn't be like way too long, although it already is. But we do have some last oracle card messages to look at as well. These are going to be encouragements or pieces of advice from Spirit to wrap up this whole reading. So let's see what is something that you can take away from this reading with you from Spirit. Wow. Okay, we have defined. The underlying energy is align, which is so crazy. I'm going to read the underlying energy, but I do actually want another oracle card message for you. So we have align, to connect deeply, to return to proper course, to live in your truths. That is the underlying energy here, and it is very apt. I feel that it's basically confirming everything that we have been talking about. And yeah, you are aligning, and you have aligned already, and it seems to be this ongoing process. But as I said, let's see if we can get one more card for you. Okay. Wow, we have commit, and this guide came out as well, but it's kind of getting a bit too much. But I'm going to read the guide to you anyway, because it already came out, so why not? We have guide, to teach, to educate, to coach, to enlighten. So this may be something that, again, actually with the Hierophant, right, it kind of makes sense, where you may end up being the one to enlighten other people now, to actually share your own deep source of wisdom as well. The underlying energy is solve, to find an answer or solution to a problem, to work something out, to untangle a riddle. You seem to actually be doing just that. You seem to be working your way through like quite difficult circumstances is what I feel based on the cards that have come out and all of the energies that we were talking about. So yeah, it's like you are untangling this web and this puzzle, and almost like setting yourself free, I want to say. But the cards that you actually got, wow, we have gotten so many, but the cards that you actually got first is define. Describe the exact nature, attributes, or details of something, to clarify meaning, to create meaning for yourself. Ooh, okay, this kind of gave me a bit of a tingle. Because especially the last one, to create meaning for yourself. See, that's what you are doing. And I feel like that's what Spirit is encouraging you to keep doing as well, to create your own meaning. You don't have to rely on what other people have told you, or what other people have preached to you, or what they have, made you believe, or like programmed into you. Like, you get to define yourself and your own life and your own journey, and what you want your life to turn into. That's not for anyone else to define. I love that. And we also have commit, to dedicate, to devote, or pledge yourself to persist, to not give up or give in, to choose something fully. Oh yes. So on the one hand, I feel like Spirit is saying to choose yourself, to commit to yourself, to commit to your own growth and your own development fully, especially if you are resonating with the message of having sacrificed yourself over and over for other people, or for some sort of like noble cause. But I also feel with this commit that it's talking about that lover's energy that was coming through last, right? To persist in demanding that sort of reciprocity. I don't know why, but that felt like it was important to re-emphasize as well. But yeah, pile number 2. Wow, I'm gonna leave it here. I feel like I have been talking on for ages, so I am very, very thankful if you are still here, by the way, if you have made it all the way to this point. Let's see. I don't know. It may be a weird one, but leave me a ladder. I'm looking at the ladder on the 5 of Pentacles here. I wonder if a ladder emoji exists. If it doesn't exist, I will leave something else on on the screen here. But if it does exist, please leave me a ladder emoji so that I would know that you made it all the way to this point, that you watched this thing all the way through, that you connected with something coming through from this reading. And yeah, it would just mean so much to me to know that, you know, you spent all this time with me and that this reading spoke to you. And of course, I would also love to see you back on this channel next Friday for some more messages, insight, and fun. But in the meantime, please take care of yourself, dear Pile 2, and be good. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to your reading, pile number 3. My name is Helen, and I want to say a huge thank you for choosing to hang out with me, spend your time and your energy. I really appreciate it, and I especially appreciate if you are one of those lovely people who has subscribed to my channel or left my readings a thumbs up, especially the last one, which got so much positive feedback. I was truly touched. So if you were one of those people, I just want to say that I am especially grateful to you. And if you weren't one of those people, but if you do at one point during today's reading, find yourself enjoying the reading that I am doing, or you find yourself enjoying my energy or just my style of reading, and you want to see more from me, you want to support my channel and keep these readings coming, then those are the easiest ways to do that. Leaving a thumbs up, a comment, just saying hi, letting me know that the reading spoke to you, and of course subscribing to the channel. Yeah, those are the easiest ways to show your support and help me keep going. So anyway, pile number 3. Now that part is out of the way, let's get to the cards. So you chose this Covenant Sacred Contract card, and you also chose the the Unfolding Path Tarot. Such a mouthful. We're going to get to that card in a second, or the cards in a second. Because I'm going to feel my way through the card that you chose intuitively, see what is coming up and what sort of messages I'm feeling. And that should already lay some form of foundation on the energy of this reading. So you should be able to recognize something, but don't worry if it's still a bit hazy after this, because that's what these pre-prepared oracle cards are for. We're going to get more details in just a bit. But pile number 3, we have this Covenant Sacred Contract card. And the thing that my eye keeps constantly landing on is this maze that is at the background here. And so I feel like you may be at this time right now where you are feeling a deeper sort of resonance with either something or someone, or maybe even some place. It almost feels like a deja vu sort of thing, where maybe you have already been here before, or you have already done this before, known this person in like a previous lifetime. You know, even though not everyone believes in that, which I obviously understand, and you may be one of those people who doesn't even believe in it, but I feel like it doesn't negate the feeling of familiarity. There may be something that you just recognize in someone, even if it's someone that you just met, or even if it's a place that you have never visited before, but there may be some form of recognition that is there. And so it almost feels like whatever this thing is that you have recently come into contact with, or that you are beginning some form of relationship with, it feels like it's meant to be, like you signed up for this, like there is more to unveil and more to discover within that dynamic, and that it's meaningful, that it's something profound, something that is meant to be. There's something fated about this thing or this person or this place. But I also feel that you all that you may be sensing, because maybe for some of you, it's not necessarily a new thing. It may be something that you have already established a relationship with. And so it might not necessarily be this new endeavor or this new thing, but you may recognize that there is some depth, some mystery, some complexity there. You may realize that what you thought you signed up for is not what you actually signed up for, that there are more elements to the story. There is more to unveil. There is more to learn, more to understand, more to grasp. Again, it's like you realize that there is some depth or that there is something profound about this thing or this place or this person, and that it is clearly playing a very significant part in your life story. I feel like you almost sense that this thing is going to take you someplace where you are meant to end up. Just like this maze, right? Like you are going through this, you're going through these paths, you are going through these twists and turns, and you are going to face certain dead ends, but then ultimately you are directed to the center of the maze where you are supposed to arrive at, right? So it's like, yeah, there's almost this fated element here. So anyway, that is just what I am feeling intuitively, pile number 3. So don't you worry if this is still a bit iffy for you, because that's what these cards are going to clear up for us, hopefully. We have these pre-prepared oracle cards, and these are going to describe what sort of recent events or energies have you encountered or experienced that have led you to this point right now, where you are at as you're watching this reading. So let's see. What's your honest truth is the first card out. We also have fertility. We have perspective. I love that there's a letter here as well. We have vulnerability and inflow with money. Interesting. Okay, pile number 3. I am getting certain confirmations yet again, which is not an unusual thing or a unique thing. It actually tends to happen quite often, but sometimes, yeah, sometimes these stories become much more specific, or at least that's how they feel to me. And in this instance, I'm kind of feeling the same thing potentially. So just, bear that in mind. And again, if by the end of these messages you don't really resonate with this story, then feel free to check out some other pile. But I'm going to start off with these 2 cards. No, actually, sorry. I'm going to start off with the center card, which says perspective, because I feel like it kind of sums up the energy of this spread. And it seems to be revolving around a shift in perspective that has taken place for you, where I feel like it's like you see something from a deeper viewpoint now. You seem to be viewing something through completely new eyes. And again, it's like, as I said, I love that there is actually a letter on this card, because I feel like it almost signifies this contract, this metaphorical contract, or maybe metaphorical is not the best word to use here, but this concept of having signed a contract beforehand, like in the spiritual realm, so to say, where you realize that there is something important that you need to experience in this lifetime. So yeah, it just feels like something that you maybe didn't realize initially was as important. You may be seeing it now as something that has the potential to truly alter your life. It feels very big picture like that. But we have this what's your honest truth, and we have vulnerability. And I do feel that whatever this thing is that you have encountered, or that you have come into contact with, whether this is recently or whether this is already for some time, it seems to be calling out in you, or bringing out this more truthful, more vulnerable side of you, or where this whole situation seems to be demanding that you be more vulnerable, demanding that you engage with it in an authentic way, where you have to vocalize or reveal what is something that you are truly feeling on the inside, even if it's something that you maybe haven't shared with anyone previously. It may be a very personal, very private part of you, but I feel like this thing or this circumstance or this place or this person is almost like pulling it out of you, whether you want to reveal it or not. And again, I feel like it's purposeful. It's for a specific reason that that thing is happening, that they are able to bring this out of you. So again, it's like it's more complex, this thing that you are experiencing. And again, I feel like these two cards are also talking about the feeling that you are getting regarding this thing being somewhat fated, or this thing feeling more special, or feeling more weighted somehow, like it has more weight to its role or its importance in your life. Now we also have these two cards which feel quite similar in energy, and that's why I'm grouping them together. We have fertility and inflow with money, which, even though the card says specifically money, it's more broadly talking about abundance mindset. Both of these cards seem to indicate, especially this fertility, that you realize, or that you have realized, that there is more to this story, that there is more to unpack and more to uncover, that this thing is still growing and progressing and developing, that you haven't seen all of it, all of the fruits that it's going to bring you. And obviously, if you think about the process of labor, of birthing something, of bringing something to life, there are all of these growing pains and discomforts and sacrifices and everything that sort of goes hand in hand with that process. But again, it's like with this abundance mindset, or it's like you realize that it's all in the name of something, that it's going to eventually lead you to something valuable, something that has meaning, something that has worth, you know? So yeah, as I said, it feels like it's maybe more of a specific message here, but it's also one of those that feels somewhat elusive. And I have a feeling that it might be because it's a deeply sort of personal thing between you and something or someone else. And maybe I'm not supposed to be privy to all of these things. And it seems like it may be a journey that you are meant to discover for yourself, that you are meant to unveil as you progress down this journey. Because again, this labyrinth or this maze seems to be pointing towards that. But pile number 3. Wow, I hope that this whole thing made sense to you. I have a feeling that because it feels like it's a very concrete or a very specific sort of scenario, if you resonate with this reading, then this whole thing made perfect sense to you. I feel like you will have recognized it almost immediately, that this is what you are experiencing right now. And if this whole thing was a complete mess to you, then most likely this isn't your pile. Yeah, don't try and force the puzzle pieces to fit if they don't organically. But yeah, pile number 3, if this was your reading, then definitely stay tuned, because now we are going to start digging into how you are changing. So it's going to be interesting and very, very exciting stuff. And we are going to first lay out the prompts that we are answering and looking into today. And we're going to go through those one by one. I'm going to talk about them in more detail as we get to each aspect of what is changing in you. And yeah, we're gonna jump into it with the tarot that you chose. And the first question that we're gonna look into is, how is your perspective or your worldview changing? Wow, okay. So you are getting 3 cards, and I guess we're taking 3 because, you know, why not? Why not? The cards that you got, which kind of turned themselves upside down as they flew out, are the 4 of Wands, the 3 of Swords in reverse, the 7 of Wands in reverse, and the Ace of Swords is the underlying energy. Okay, so pile number 3, I feel a very strong and a very specific message from these cards. I have a sense that you being in this experience right now and like coming into contact with this thing that feels more sacred, or that feels fated, that feels like it's part of your destiny, like it's meant to be, is also playing into your worldview changing now regarding the things that didn't go according to plan in the past. Especially with the 4 of Wands and the 3 of Swords in reverse, these two cards, actually, let me just focus on these two for a second. These two cards are saying that you now view certain things, certain disappointments, certain painful experiences where maybe something ends abruptly, or someone pulls the rug out from under you, or like a beautiful dream of sort collapses, right? With the Four of Wands in reverse, it feels like there is most likely some form of disappointment regarding where you thought you belonged that you have experienced in the past. It may also have been related to like established connections, established relationships, very strong bonds that were built over time, foundations that were laid over time. And you may have experienced, again, certain failures or crumblings of those. You may have experienced people letting you down that you thought were in your corner. You may have experienced certain endeavors that you put a lot of effort into not amounting to much, or maybe being only short-lived, or things like that. And maybe previously you may have felt defeated by them with the Seven of Wands in reverse. You may have felt disheartened and discouraged and feeling like there's something that you did wrong, or there's something that is just wrong with how things progressed. But I feel like now, with the underlying energy being the Ace of Swords, you finally realize why these things didn't come to be, why these things turned out the way that they did, why they had to break down, why they had to fall away or disengage from you, right? You have that clarity now, you have that knowing, because this thing now that you are connected to, that you are a part of, that feels true, that feels aligned, that feels meant to be. And so it's like you have this sudden realization of, okay, now I realize why those things had to leave my life. Because the thing that exists now, even though it's not this like smooth sailing, and even though it has its own hurdles and obstacles to overcome and deal with, it all feels infinitely more easy and more effortless than anything else that you experienced in the past. And so again, it's like your worldview has shifted into sort of realizing that everything happens for a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. Even if certain things are difficult to let go of, especially with the Four of Wands, because whenever we are dealing with the number 4, there is a level of attachment to it. There is a level of wanting to hold on, wanting to stick to that structure. But especially with the Three of Swords being here, it's clear that not all of those structures were necessarily good for you, or not all of those structures were necessarily even healthy, maybe. And by the way, I'm not judging you in any single way if that's something that you recognize from your past, because again, like we all have something that we have experienced, that we have been a part of, that hasn't been healthy, and it's part of the human experience, right? We have to go through that so that we would recognize what is healthy, what is supportive, what is conducive to our growth, and the sort of the flourishing that we can ultimately experience. So yeah, you know, if things are sort of taken away from you, if things are broken down, if you feel defeated at times, you now sort of have a different perspective of that, and how ultimately things work out for the best, even if again in that moment it's hard to see. But let's move on to the next prompt, which is behavior. So let's see, how is your behavior or your self-expression changing? Oh wow, we got 2 cards exactly. We have the Two of Wands and the Six of Coins, with the Six of Swords being the underlying energy. So first off, I want to say that I feel like something that is changing about your behavior is these opportunities to grow, or these opportunities to step out of your comfort zone, is something that you are starting to view as gifts, as something to embrace, something positive, right? Whereas I feel like before, it may have been somewhat intimidating. It may have felt unsteady or unsafe, that you maybe didn't want to jeopardize, again, the structures, the systems that were working, that were already in place, that were already well established, that you had already worked so hard to bring about and keep going, right? So it was maybe all about maintaining what already existed and potentially being afraid of things that weren't very familiar to you, that you didn't have much experience with, that there maybe was this distrust of new and, again, maybe even uncomfortable things that sort of pushed you outside of your comfort zone. Maybe you didn't really want to get into that. But now it seems like you are starting to behave in a way where you are embracing that, where you are actually, again, seeing those as positives. Because with the underlying energy being the Six of Swords too, it's all about seeing how life is constantly in the process of movement and change is always happening. And if you were able to embrace that and see that wherever life takes you, there is always possibility to create something better than you had. And I'm not saying that, that you should always be in this mindset of the grass is greener somewhere else. That's not at all the energy that I'm talking about. Of course, when you have valuable things, when you have valuable people and valuable commitments, those are worth maintaining and putting effort into, right? But that doesn't mean that there shouldn't also, at the same time, exist this mentality of keeping yourself open-minded for like new experiences as well. And again, it's not saying that you have to disregard and neglect or let go of the things or the people that are already parts of your life and that you cherish very much. But it's just about going with the flow, going with the changes, because like ultimately nothing really stays the same. Even the relationships that we have with other people, these other people in these relationships, they are constantly changing and evolving too. Even if, the rates in which we are changing or evolving are different. Sometimes there's more growth, other times the growth is slower and it's not as perceivable. But things are constantly changing, right? And so we can change and grow together with other people. We can change and grow and sort of bring about this constant development with our sort of existing contracts, commitments, dynamics, and all of that. And actually, that's even healthy. And I feel like, again, it's one of those things where you're sort of learning to push yourself. You're learning to push yourself out of like any stagnation or wanting to settle for things. And I also feel this level of like wanting to invest yourself into like creating a better future, not just for yourself, but for other people too, or for this dynamic or for the existing structures that you have created in your life, right? It's like wanting to invest in some better opportunities. So yeah, that is how I feel that your behavior is shifting. So starting to embrace these points of growth, points of expansion. Let's also take a look at the challenge aspect. So more specifically, we are going to take a look at what is changing about how you deal with challenges in life. Okay. So again, we got way too many cards. So I am keeping the Strength card that also came out as the underlying energy. We have the Nine of Wands, the King of Swords coming out in reverse, and the Strength card. Okay, so it's so interesting, pile number 3, but I actually feel a very different kind of energy or a very different kind of challenge coming through from this specific part of the reading. Because for the other piles, it was very clearly the energy of, being faced with obstacles, being faced with difficulties and having to overcome them, right? But in this instance, I actually feel this challenge as very concretely someone, or like having an opposing force of some kind that is challenging you, or challenging your views, or challenging your values, or challenging like where you stand, right? It's having some form of like opposition, and for some reason that being highlighted here. So I feel like the reason why that is coming through, especially with the King of Swords coming out in reverse here as well, it seems to allude to you potentially having experienced your ideas or your perspective or your opinions being like overridden or opposed or challenged quite often by either someone or just people who are very domineering, or who are very authoritative, or who like want to somehow control how you do things or how you view things, right? Wanting to have a say in your worldview, almost like wanting to put you in your place. And you may have experienced a lot of these like toxic authority figures in your life. And I do feel that there are several of those that you have come into contact with, where like constantly what you feel or what you think has been trampled in the ground, or where you have been made to feel like you know nothing, or like what you think is invalid, what you feel is invalid, how you see things doesn't matter, like all those sorts of things. And I don't know why. Maybe this is more of a specific message, but I have to emphasize how strongly I feel that this challenge is coming through in a whole different way from the other piles. So the Nine of Wands with this King of Swords coming out in reverse is stating that how you deal with challenges is becoming much more resilient and much less easily swayed, especially where I feel like it's almost like you are building this wall up between yourself and all of these like toxic authority figures who are trying to control you and how you see things and what sort of choices you make, and basically how you should live your life. But I feel like you are again building this wall, building this screen, so that these domineering forces wanting to impose their own worldview and their own belief system onto you, that they are not able to do that. So it's almost like you are starting to protect your own mental space so much more. And we even have this Strength card as the underlying energy too, which is saying that you are basically summoning this courage and this resilience within yourself to withstand any pressuring energies or any forceful tactics that people may be trying to use on you to get you to act in a way that they want you to act in. So facing up to those fears, finding this level of courage in you to stand tall, to stand strong, to not allow yourself to get rattled, that's basically what I feel here. So yeah, it feels like you're starting to create very firm boundaries with people. And again, I don't know why, but I feel that the challenges that you have faced in the past have mainly been from certain people who are in position of authority or in position of power, that have had a say in your life or your choices or your path or whatever. But anyway, so that is the challenge part. Very interesting, pile number 3. And I am so interested in hearing about how this part resonates for you and whether it resonates for you. So yeah. Anyway, let's keep going. So we have motivation next. So let's take a look at what are some new core motivations for you. What is it that is lighting you up now? Oh, wow. That was so quick. Oh my goodness. Okay, interesting. Wow, we have the Knight of Wands that is coming out in reverse, and we also have the Five of Cups that is coming out in reverse, with the Temperance card being the underlying energy. So again, pile number 3, I feel a very concrete sort of message. Even though the reading itself is actually energetically very complex. But yeah, we have this Knight of Wands and the Five of Cups coming out in reverse. And ultimately, your core motivation seems to be becoming much more rooted in level-headedness and stability, rather than operating from like impulsive emotions that are resulting from like past hurts and past wounds that have kind of stayed with you. Because the Knight of Wands, whenever he comes out in reverse, or I mean it's a she on this image, but the Knight, you know, I'm gonna say he because I'm just used to that. But again, don't get stuck in the gender pronouns. So the Knight of Wands in reverse is talking about an energy that is quite reckless, quite impulsive, that is difficult to manage or withhold. It's almost like this spark that like wants to break free, and that it's very difficult to have power over. So it kind of has a mind of its own. And the Five of Cups is clearly, again, talking about like past disappointments, past wounds, past emotionally difficult and scarring experiences that you have gone through. And I feel like with both of these cards together, it's like there has been potentially a pattern of acting out of impulse or acting out of a deep-seated wound that maybe isn't fully acknowledged, or that hasn't been paid attention to, that hasn't been given space or time to heal properly. And so it has almost been on a rampage of sorts. It has almost had free reign over situations where something or someone has triggered you, and it has almost been like this volcanic eruption of just this hurt or pain like pouring out in whatever way it decides to come out. And you potentially feeling like you don't want to act out from that space, but also feeling kind of helpless to do something about it or to rein it in. But now again, it seems like this motivation to not act impulsively or recklessly, or to not act from a place of wounds or hurtful places within you that maybe haven't properly healed, like not allowing those to kind of blindly rule your actions. Like that seems to be the motivation here, again, to like gain back power into your own hands, to choose and have a say in what sort of choices you make, how you approach something new or certain opportunities that are presented to you. We have this Temperance as the underlying energy, right? And this is basically the epitome of this moderation, of keeping things in check, of staying on top of your feelings, not allowing them to overpower you and overflow you, choosing to stay calm, choosing to walk the middle path, right? Bring things into balance. But it's also a card of healing, right? And so yeah, it seems like you are determined to act from a place that is much more balanced and much more steady and much more calm and peaceful. And as the last thing, I feel like it's also tied to an aspect of not wanting to get involved with things that are kind of raising red flags from the get-go. So especially with the Five of Cups coming in reverse, it may allude to potentially coming into contact with things that are repeating a similar pattern, where you have already experienced a lesson in the past, but you're kind of coming back to that pain through a new situation. But the Knight of Wands is basically saying that you are not going down that road. You are sort of turning your back on that thing and running away from it. So it seems to be your motivation to not repeat any same mistake. Think things through more carefully, calm yourself down, and not act in any sort of rushed or impulsive ways. But pile number 3, the last thing we're going to look at is relationships. And more specifically, we're going to take a look at what is changing about how you show up in your relationships or how you relate to other people in general. Wow. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So we have the 10 of Cups, the 3 of Coins, and the 5 of Wands in reverse as the underlying energy. So the first thing I want to say is that I find it really interesting that the 10 of Cups actually jumped out of the pack and sort of landed itself upside down, or like it seemed to have turned itself around, right? But I also feel pulled to say that there is so much fire energy that is coming through from all of these cards that we have been talking about. So it may be something that is quite familiar to you to be in touch and to be very familiar with this fieriness, this drive, this active sort of force or fuel within you that like pushes you to act in a moment's notice, right? It may be very easy for you to go from 0 to 100 in like 0.5 seconds, but it seems like there is something that is, again, it's like it's mellowing in you, or like you are gaining more control over that fire and learning to command it in a much more constructive way. We have the 10 of Cups and we have the 3 of Coins as how you are showing up in your relationships now, or what is changing about how you show up in relationships. And I do feel that there is much more participation that seems to be coming up. This 10 of Cups and 3 of Coins are talking about wanting to build a structure or a relationship dynamic or an environment that is conducive to the growth of that connection and that is conducive to the well-being of everyone involved, everyone present. So it's like you are wanting to create a healthier environment or atmosphere for other people too. You seem to be concerned with other people's well-being as well, and sort of focusing more on the well-being of the whole rather than like getting stuck in like personal desires or personal agendas or sort of wanting to fight for what you want, what your desires are, what your needs are. And obviously those things are important too. It's important to give voice to your own needs and make sure that your needs and wishes are not being neglected. But ultimately, if you are wanting to create a flourishing relationship or a flourishing sort of dynamic or environment, it can't just be about one person's wishes, right? The big picture has to involve everyone, and it has to involve what is ultimately most important. And I feel like in this instance, it's this realization that that ultimately what matters is the relationship, of keeping that relationship intact. And I feel like it's like because you are now in the presence of either like the right person or the right circumstances or the right energies, like again, whatever sort of contract you are a part of, it feels like you now find it so much more easy to feel more deeply about the well-being of the whole rather than the well-being of you. I feel like the motivation is there now, whereas maybe before it really wasn't. And it wasn't because you didn't feel that soul level connection. But with the 10 of Cups being here, it's clear that a very deep connection exists and that you ultimately want to build upon that. You want to build upon like a really flourishing and blooming and again, like growth inducing foundation, or you want to create that for the relationship and for everyone involved. Because again, when the whole environment is abundant, everyone wins. When only one person is winning in this scenario or winning in this environment, then ultimately it's not going to last very long. And I feel like that's that sort of big picture thinking that you seem to be starting to embrace. So, wow, pile number 3. I have no idea what it is that you are doing specifically, and what sort of like divine contract you are creating or living in, but yeah, it definitely feels like it's I don't know, it just feels substantial, this energy. And I hope that the messages that were coming through, you know, that they made sense to you. But pile number 3, we are almost done, I promise. We just have a couple of last oracle card messages to go through. These are going to be messages from Spirit, something to encourage you, just to give you advice regarding this whole reading that we have gone through. So let's see what sort of last wrap-up message Spirit has for you. Oh, wow. Okay. This one flew out like, I don't know, it landed in a very dramatic sort of way. But the underlying energy is balance, which is so funny, considering the Temperance card as well. We have to stabilize, to return to the now, to find equilibrium and harmony. Yeah, so I feel like Spirit is reinforcing the importance of creating balance. And I feel like that's something that you are working towards as well. You seem to have realized just how important balance is, and how you seem to be focused on, again, not just on one side of the equation, but making sure that both sides are heard and seen and validated, right? That the whole thing works, not just one aspect of it. But the card that you actually got is Strengthen, to reinforce, to add, to make stronger, to practice and persist. And I love that we're getting the Boundary card. I don't think we have actually gotten any Boundary cards up to this point, but this feels really apt and really important because of this whole aspect here, right? This challenge element that we were talking about, and creating this boundary, right? To keep your own well-being at the forefront, and not allow these toxic or negative influences to sway you and to get to you and to diminish everything that you have been sort of building and working towards, right? So to strengthen your boundaries, and to make sure that you don't allow people to sabotage everything that you have been working towards. I don't know why this card isn't really wanting to focus, so I'm just hoping that you can kind of see the main message here. Oh my God, is it actually focusing? No, sorry. Okay, it's not happening. It's way too colorful. The background is way too colorful, so the camera's having a hard time. But anyway, pile number 3, I am going to leave it here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that these messages that were coming through spoke to someone, and if they spoke to you, if you actually resonated with this whole story, and if it made sense to you and you got something valuable from this, and if you're still here, just letting me know that you're still here, that would mean so much to me as well. And you can do that by leaving me, let's do a little bee. Yeah, I would love a little bumblebee or whatever. The little bee emoji would be great, so that I would know that you made it all the way to this point, that you watched this thing, and that you could make sense of it. I would really appreciate it. So I hope to connect with you in the comment section, but I would also hope to see you back on this channel next Friday for some more messages, insight, and fun. And in the meantime, please take care of yourselves and be good. Bye-bye.